Welcome to Toy Hill Studio. My name is Kendall Kessler. I put up painting demos and studio tours. Please like and subscribe, and please check out my intro video. You can find out all about me in 2 minutes, where I've been, where I'm going, what my goals are. Last time I did some creative typography and did the letter Z. I have a number of these, but not that many, so I decided to do some more. I really get into this. It's just a lot of fun to just take a letter and turn it into something that is a work of art. And I want to say a couple more things about this before I go to the next one. I really like the flowing motion in this one. It's just kind of watery. The letter is kind of watery, and the background is watery. And this time I decided I'm going to do an H, but what I thought I'd do, a little different, is I want to contrast something very static. This doesn't look flowing. It's very kind of a jagged, really expressive jagged edge to this H, and then I've got flowing lines in the background. So I thought that might be interesting to try to have that, to have an opposite effect. I don't know, might end up all flowing, I don't know. As I said, I always really just like to experiment with these and see what happens. And I'm going to take a medium-sized brush and just go with it and not really think too much about it. Just paint and talk. I did want to, this time, maybe get more into some pinks and things, because I have been doing so many that are basically red-green. They've got blue in them, but they come across mostly as red-green. So I want to get some pinks going, and some purples, and then I can always change it. And you'll notice I'm not letting it move around a lot. I'm going to try to keep it kind of thick, but not super thick, because as I said many times, paintings are almost always done from thin to thick, and if it's real thick it'll start coming off. So almost always we start off with it thin, but usually with my demos I start with even thinner than this and let it melt around. Bleed, wet and wet technique in water medium, but I prefer to build up the paint into a more traditional acrylic or oil painting effect. So I'm going to try to stay around those lines, because I don't want to have to reestablish them. I probably will end up doing that. I want to really stay within that and then let the background move around more. It's evening. Didn't get to this until now, and that happens. But that's okay. I always like to put up one a week, so I work hard to get one done. In a good mood, because I've mentioned before, I play the piano at church. And it's hard for me, because I do have very bad stage fright. I've gotten better, but it's still bad. And I wanted to play something that's pretty hard to play. A piece by Debussy. I'm a big fan of Claude Debussy, impressionist composer. And I was a little worried, because it really was not easy. A lot of his stuff is quite difficult. In fact, I can't think of one that's really easy. And I thought, oh God, I hope I don't mess this up, because there are certain places that are bad. And I nailed it. I was so pleased. Not only didn't mess up, but put a lot of expression into it, and that was nice. I really like to do a good job. And it's not so much I'm trying to show off, because I would say I was like beginner or early advanced. I don't know, I'm pretty good. Even though I'm not as good as I used to be. I'm pretty good. I don't really do that to show off. I just know there's a lot of gorgeous pieces that most people haven't heard. And I'm sure that most people have heard Claire de Lune. But Afternoon of the Fawn, that's the one I played today. And I know I played that before, and somebody said, oh, that's real pretty, what is it? So there's a lot of pieces that I play that people have never heard of and never heard. So I like to play them at church. Yeah, I want to just kind of do something a little different here. Get more into some blues and things. And like I said, the pink. Just not so much a red-green effect, which is what I tend to do a lot. As I've mentioned many times, I really like those two complementary colors, red and green. I was working on, it's taken a long time, they always do, because I have so much to do. But I was working on the second stage of a wildflower painting and oil paints. I do them from traditional thin to thick, and I get real thick at a certain point. And it's getting real thick now. Paint is really building up. And I noticed I was getting that the tube with the oil, tube with the blue, the dark blue that I use, cobalt blue, was kind of low. So I went to the shelf to get more. I could not believe it. I recently made a big order of paint. I mean a big order, lots of money. I didn't remember I was low on blue. Could not believe it. So now I gotta make a separate order. So I gotta do that pretty quick because I want to get this painting done and then do some lake paintings. This turned out kind of nice. How much time? Only 5 minutes, that's good. Couldn't believe it. Think you're organized? Yeah. Lots and lots of white and lots of the greens that I use. I do use a lot of different greens. This is still getting kind of red-green. Oh well. Do love that contrast, so that's what happens. That's fine. But plenty of the two greens I use. And enough of the yellow and the red. I use a lot of red cadmium light. And I use the really expensive stuff. Now, I know there's paint more expensive than that, but I use the really high quality Gamblin oil paint. And it is really good. You'd have to work very hard to damage it. Should last forever. Oil paints are great that way. They do last and last and last. Unless you really just put tremendous amounts of light on them, they're not going to change. Okay, I kind of like that. Now what do I want to do in the background? I don't know. Can't decide. I do want it to kind of flow around, but I don't know if I want to have a lot of the wet and wet in this one. So I think I will use a little more water and see. I might end up making that more fluid so I do get that contrast that I was talking about. I think I mentioned before that a lot of art works very well with contrast. All arts. Things that are completely different from each other can be a very eye-catching effect. I don't know if I want to use just one color in each one or... I don't know. I was looking at the ones I already have, and I was noticing that there are some where I do have a background. The last one I did, the background was very amorphous, but there's some that I have a background that is very stylized, and I thought those were kind of nice. So the great thing about this is you can just do anything with it. Mentioned that last time. This is certainly something anyone can do. Now they're not going to do it the way I do it. Everybody will do it differently, and I've been working at painting for a lot of decades. So a lot of what I'm doing is the result of practice, the way I'm reacting to it, to come up with something that I think works real well. It's a tremendous amount of practice, tremendous amount of time developing what I think works for me. But anybody can do something with this, and I really think that's a really interesting thing to do, because I think a lot of people think, I can't do anything with art. I just can't do anything. Well, there's actually a lot of things you can do. There's no reason to be afraid of it. Okay, yeah, I'm letting that bleed, and I think I kind of like that. Letting it get different colors into it. And that will play off of the more solid areas. Yeah, I think it would be good to do that. I can always build up the paint again, but I just thought it'd be nice to have that contrasting effect there, where that is more amorphous and this is a little more definite with the real sharp edges to the H. Yeah, that's working pretty good. Oh, again, back to the letter stuff, since I always get new people, I did want to explain that. A lot of people don't realize that there's one way that everybody is an artist, and that's your handwriting. Because an artist is someone that communicates in a visual manner. And whether you know it or not, you subconsciously put yourself into your handwriting. That's why there's so many different kinds. Something that I've always been fascinated about, I mentioned this last time, the difference between my father's jagged peaks and my mother's little tiny handwriting except for the caps. There's all kinds of really fascinating things you can learn from books. I am certainly not any expert on it all, but you can get a book on it and learn about certain types of things that people do that express their personality. And one of them, in general, like I said, I'm no expert on this, don't take it as real seriously. One of them that I thought was interesting is people that have large caps usually feel good about themselves. That your cap should be at least twice as big as the smaller letters. And I've always thought my mother felt good about herself. And people that, when there's two T's, small T's, they cross them both at the same time. I remember I used to ask that in class when I went over this with students in Art of Priest, because it was something interesting that they liked. I'd say, well, what kind of person does that? And they'd say, lazy person. Well, no, actually, that's someone that knows how to get things done. Why cross one at a time when you can just hit them both with one line? It's a very efficient person. There's all kinds of stuff. How you handle your lowercase letters. People that leave the O's and the A's open so they're more like U's. They tend to be people that can't keep a secret. I knew somebody that had letters like that, and this person couldn't keep a secret of his life depended on it. Just, of course, just stuff I looked in books. I don't really know how true that is. My husband thinks it's a lot of nonsense, but I don't think so. It is an actual scientific study, and a very visually oriented person like me really sees things in people's handwriting. I really do. I see a personality when I see some example of someone's handwriting. I'm just getting close to done here because I don't like to go more than 15 minutes, so this might be all I do. And I might go back into it. The last time I went into a lot because I really didn't like the background. It was all bleeding, but I didn't think it worked well with the letters, so I went back into that one a lot. This one, I don't know. I might make it a little more complicated and get out a small brush and do a little more with it. But I think the effect's pretty good. Just a little more up here. And I'll probably just go back into it just to really make it a little stronger. Or I might really get into it, who knows. I like to let it sit around for a while and then decide just what I want to do. The last one was really screaming to me that I just didn't like the way the background was going with the letter. But this one's not screaming, not so far. So one thing a teacher said to me that I thought that was really interesting. And I think it's very true that when you paint, you're trying to do something, you're trying to figure out something, you tend to have a plan of what you want, and you go along, and then after a while, the painting starts to talk to you, and that's true. Things happen that you didn't necessarily count on, or you just start to see a direction that is what you wanted, or close to what you wanted, or very different from what you wanted, and they start yakking at you. It's very true. Okay. I don't know, I think this one's not screaming at me, but I think I really prefer the build-up, more build-up paint like in this one, so I'm probably going to go back into it and do the same thing and then just really bring out these edges and those fluid lines even stronger. So thank you so much for watching. The link to the final painting will be at the top of the description, the link to my Etsy site, the link to my Wix website. Please check out that. I am blogging there every day.